Have you ever had this issue on your Turbo Timber Evolution? That's not supposed to happen. It's supposed to go back. And as you can see, it gets stuck up. In this video, we're going to show you how to replace that servo and get your plane back in the air. Welcome back to Inverted Aviators RC. We're going to jump right into it. Let's fix this servo. So first thing you're going to want to check is this black screw that is holding these aileron together, is this too tight? Because we've noticed that if this gets screwed in too much and it's resting against this little aileron horn, it can cause a lot of friction, which will mean that the servo is putting a lot of force into the arm instead of moving the servo. So a little fix could be unscrewing this, not all the way, obviously, because you still need to control the aileron, but screw it out enough so there's a little gap in between this black arm and the aileron horn. And that might help. You could also try using some isopropyl alcohol or some WD-40 to put on this little screw you can see the screw that's on the black arm. You can try using some isopropyl alcohol or WD-40 to lubricate that screw, because we noticed with ours too that it's a little bit rusted and it doesn't move freely within this black arm, which again causes more resistance from the servo, which will cause more stress on the arm, which might make it get stuck.
So take the linkage arm off.
Yes, take the linkage arm off and make sure the battery's not plugged in when you're using liquids near electronics. But let's see if that fixes it. And if so, that means that's all we have to do. If not, we'll move on to another step. So again, this is the side that is broken and we unscrewed it a little bit. And luckily that seems to do it. So you might just want to unscrew the servo arms a little bit from all of the servos to prevent any unwanted stress, or at least from time to time check that they're not screwed in too much. If that did not fix your servo, unfortunately, we have to move on to the next step, which is buying a replacement and installing it that way. So we are working on the right servo here, and you can see that it is protected right now by this little plastic part. And this is as easy as just ripping the thing off, and we have that, that can be hot glued on later. So what we're gonna do now is unplug the battery from the plane, because we don't wanna work on any wiring while the plane is plugged in.
So what's wrong with the servo?
Well, it is, according to Horizon Hobby, it just happens over time that the screw in the middle will get stripped out, and then it will just not go back to the center point, and it'll be really annoying. And if this happens in the air, you will be perpetually turning, which will cause you to crash. So we don't want that at all, so we are going to replace it. So once again, unplug the battery. So what we're gonna do first is unplug this little connector right here, which is giving the signal and power to the servo itself. So you grab a nice pair of tweezers, you can just kind of get at it and pop it out. So as you can see, you just pull out the servo plug and we have it disconnected. So as you can see, no more signal or power. There's nothing else connecting the servo into the electronics. Then next, we're gonna remove this servo arm. This side, so we're gonna need, looks like a hex screw driver. And we're just going to unscrew it. Okay, so after that gets unscrewed, you can weave out this servo arm. And so it just takes a little bit of finessing. And just like that, we have the servo arm out. I'm gonna put that aside for now. And now the only thing keeping this servo in are these two screws on the top right and bottom left side. We're gonna take our screwdriver and just unscrew them. They are really small screws, so just be careful not to lose them.
stuck.
Yeah, this one was just being annoying. It's not Loctited in or anything. All right, so now we got both screws out. I'm gonna put this over here. And just like that, we have the bad servo came out relatively easily. So we've got this replacement servo from Amazon. We will link it in the description. And if you would like to support the channel, feel free to use these affiliate links because we get a little commission off of it, and in turn it helps our channel. So we get a 2.3 gram offset linear servo with a plug. We will only need this servo. We won't need any of the other fun electronics that come in the bag. All right, so again, we only really need this servo. There's other fun parts, like if you blast your wing and you lose this little plastic housing, you can actually replace that. You get this little extra housing, which would be hot glued right in there with the, looks like the pins are on the back right and the top left sides, but we won't need that if you're just replacing the servo and you know that it's the servo that's the issue. So if we reinstall it just like it was before, we're gonna start by plugging in this plug, and that's because if you get it screwed in first, it's harder to maneuver this plug down and back into the right spot. So we're going to plug it in first. All right, so we're going to grasp it tightly. Oh, firmly grasp it.
Firmly grasp it in your hand.
That's a funny reference. And just like that, we have it all plugged in. So we're gonna pop this back on these pegs that come from the standoff, and we're gonna screw it back in with these screws that came from the old servo. Yeah, it should be pretty straightforward. The screws go on the top right and the back left. Just make sure not to lose them. All right, just like that, we've got the servo all screwed in. We're going to reinstall this linkage arm by weaving this this curvy side into the hole here. So there are 3 holes here on this the servo side for the linkage arm, and we are going to put it on the furthest in, and that'll allow us to have the most throw when it comes to the aileron deflection. So there are 3 options: there's the close, the nearest, and the furthest. We're going to go the furthest in. We're going to go in this way, then go in. There we go. So now we got it in, and we are going to screw this back into the bottommost hole on the aileron side, and that's once again to give the most deflection while we're flying, which means it's the flippiest, and in our case, the most fun. So we're going to take this same screwdriver and just screw in the screw to the bottommost hole on the aileron.
I think a little side note. What you're supposed to do for the ailerons is put it in, I think, the second hole from the bottom. That's just what it says in the instructions. But we have put it to the bottom so we have the most deflection.
All right, so now we have the servo reinstalled. We don't have these caps on yet, but that'll just take some hot glue and you can just hold it on there. Or if you want to save some weight, just don't put those on, but protection is always nice when it comes to planes that might land in water. All right, and so what you're gonna wanna do is make sure that the servo itself is moving smoothly. If it gets stuck a little bit, just try waggling it around. It might be some goop from the factory that's causing it to stick up a little bit, if you at least get a replacement. So just make sure it's all moving fine, and then give it a whole bunch of testing before you get back in the air to make sure, as you can see, it's now moving just like we want it to. And test it in high and low rates, safe on and off. Give it every single possibility it can to break before you get up in the air again. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to check out all of our other videos for seeing this plane in the air. And yeah, thanks for watching.